Hello and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined as usual by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael like to discuss the most ubiquitous things of a given topic, and this week is no different as we discuss the Mount Rushmore of guys in drag. Now, this is a topic that I chose, and I have long been entertained and interested in performance, and in many times throughout history, men have taken on the roles of women and vice versa. We're going to talk about men in drag, and it might be Bugs Bunny dressed up like a female wabbit in an animated thing, or it might be somebody playing Juliet in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. But I think it's very interesting when men, for whatever reason, take on the roles of women in comedy, in drama, and whatever. And so today is the Mount Rushmore of guys in drag.
Yeah.
So, Richard, I would like for you to start.
All right, so my first choice is probably the most successful drag queen of all time.
Sure.
RuPaul / RuPaul Charles.
On my list as well.
Also good.
Okay. All right.
Is it because RuPaul started at did he become famous at the exact right time when he needed to be famous, that he became so ubiquitous and so accepted in a culture that, you know, in the early 90s specifically, like, was not into gay men?
Not particularly.
Are we talking about gay or drag?
Well,
no, but I mean,
that's a drag performer who is gay.
Okay.
Yes. In this one's, like, I was thinking about this topic a lot and thinking about, like, the personalities of men who dress as women for show. I mean, if we're talking about,
it's all for show. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
and in this specific aspect,
RuPaul is a drag character.
Yeah.
There's also the person RuPaul Charles, who, if you like, I don't know if you guys ever watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
Bugs Bunny, our co-host. Elmer Fudd.
Let me redo that. I don't know if you guys ever watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
I don't have a basic cable.
Neither do I. I just steal it from other people.
Well, there you go.
Is the FCC listening to this? I'm fucked. Essentially, there are the two personas almost. There is the RuPaul, who is the host of the show, and whenever they do the challenges and the judging and all that, comes on with the glamorous outfits and the hair, and does the catty bitchy sort of RuPaul shtick. And then there's RuPaul Charles, who is RuPaul as a male, bald, kind of, middle-aged black guy, also very, very well put together, very, very fashionable in clothing and stuff, but a little bit more toned down, a little bit more of a natural persona. Still with some of those elements of the RuPaul character, because obviously they're
kind of one and the same.
Yeah, you draw those elements from your character whenever you create whatever your drag persona is. But it's definitely very much a split between there's RuPaul and then there's RuPaul Charles, and you can't say they're two separate entities, but they're also not exactly one and the same either.
Yeah.
And so you were asking about whether or not it was kind of a specific point in time that worked for RuPaul to be like RuPaul. And I don't know, man. It's interesting because there's almost no world where RuPaul should still be not just an unknown person in 2017, but like a really super successful host, singer, actor, executive producer, a media conglomerate. By all rights, RuPaul should be, in some sort of like...
The kitsch and the shtick should have faded by 1998.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
The only thing we should know... only time RuPaul should really come up would be if Michael Ian Black is referencing it in an I Love the 90s type show. I mean, just from the standpoint of... in 1995 or whatever.
Yeah, he had the Supermodel song.
Had Supermodel, and it was kind of, great for like 6 months. And those sort of artists just sort of go away. They become Right Said Fred, right? They become where are they now sort of thing. But RuPaul just kind of got a foothold in there, and by being charming and entertaining and all,
I think there was also like just an honesty of his persona. He never like seemed to live it down. He never hid anything about it. I think maybe sometimes people that play kind of big outlandish characters as well tend to not, like, he seems to have married that life of his character to his persona and vice versa, can slip in and out of it, and also do things outside of like that persona as well, like you were saying, that kind of helped elongate his career.
Yeah, I think
there's a fun interview on Mark Maron where RuPaul talks about the origin of his drag character as emerging from punk, and as a musician he would perform in a category he called gender fuck. So I find that wherever he has ended up, he did not come to it from the same place that previous drag performers did. He kind of came through a lot of artists who in this era came from the place where the thing that we knew was destroyed, i.e. punk, did to music, and you came out from a new place.
There's a movie called Wigstock that came out early 90s, I guess. Would have been right before RuPaul became a thing. And I think RuPaul is in it like right before she becomes like famous. And it's about this. Wigstock was the major like drag convention, meeting, party in New York every year. And so they follow around a lot of the big drag celebrities at the time. Someone named Joey Arias, who basically does a spot on Billie Holiday. Lady Miss Bunny, who was, if I remember correctly, she was actually RuPaul's like mentor. And
a young Paul Ryan.
Was in there. Remember that.
Doing Liza Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli. Spot on. Liza Minnelli, I should point out.
Minnelli.
But you watch that and if you watch that, you'll be reminded, or you'll kind of be shown that a lot of, especially back then, drag was super raunchy. Like, it was not for families. It was not something that was cleaned up or at all. And I think RuPaul has been able to kind of present sort of a more acceptable.
We'll say
more kind of been able to find that balance between still keeping that real kind of like edge of drag, but also presenting it in a way that's more sort of the general public can embrace.
I think it helped in a sense, and this kind of sounds a little shallow, that he's like a very beautiful person. Like, I think that I know another choice of mine later on is very much not a beautiful person in drag, but like he kind of
is it Dame Edna? Should have been.
I thought of that, but no. Like he's a beautiful man, and I think that helps when you're in the entertainment industry. That someone that is just instantly kind of eye appealing, and you're like, oh, okay, I can see why you are popular.
RuPaul is
just from an image point of view,
I hate to use the word non-threatening, because then it brings up all these sort of like threatening. What's it threatening about? But I mean, I think just to the general world at large, RuPaul is able to be sort of non-threatening, but at the same time not sell out, and you don't feel like that RuPaul isn't being RuPaul, but is able to sort of like modify sort of based on the audience what level of RuPaulness that you get. She can go on the Today Show and be like one version of RuPaul, and then on RuPaul's Drag Race be a different version, or maybe even in a live appearance be completely even 100% RuPaul.
Well, it's
tough to do that and feel authentic.
I think
right.
I think the longevity of his career, I think, is interesting in that, like some drag shows, there's an entertainer that's going up and is acting out as Liza Minnelli, as you said. He was never playing someone else.
Yeah,
he was always playing a version of himself,
actually singing.
Yes,
or acting or whatever he was doing.
It wasn't like quite an homage to some other celebrity that had come before. It was like, I am my own person in totality. And
RuPaul feels almost more like a Jeff. I don't know if you would agree with this. I think this is your world.
I can't wait.
No. It's the idea of RuPaul almost feels like one of those celebrities from the 70s.
Yeah.
Who were like celebrities, even though you didn't really know why they were celebrities. I'm sure there are a lot of people who love RuPaul in 2017 who had never heard of Supermodel or weren't alive yet. When that first came out, and just sort of know RuPaul as a celebrity, someone who's funny and someone who's entertaining, and someone who I'm used to being on TV. Someone you would see on the Gong Show or something like that. Maybe RuPaul's the modern day like J.P. Morgan, or like a Phyllis Diller or something like that.
One thing I think has if RuPaul is anything, he's a diva too, and there was the rise of the divas. I think you see all these women who are very powerfully expressing their identity and are being kind of recognized for that. So I think it doesn't hurt that he's on the television in this era where the strong personalities has a voice. Okay, so Michael, you are going to deliver to us your second choice. Am I right?
My second choice, yes, is an actor playing a part in a movie, and it's, in 1993, 94, 95, 3 movies kind of came out back to back that all featured kind of drag characters.
Titanic.
1997's Titanic was all in drag.
Right.
The boat was actually
a male
boat.
Not a sailboat, but a male boat.
It was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Tu Wong Fu, thanks for everything Julie Newmar, and The Birdcage. And the last one I'm going to talk about is Nathan Lane's character of Albert.
Great movie. Really great movie. I haven't seen it in a while now. I want to see it because it's such a good movie.
Really fun. His character Albert is a very flamboyantly gay man who stars as Starina in a Miami nightclub, gay nightclub run by Robin Williams. And it's all about it's a drama. It's a very Three's Company-esque drama about...
It's a lot of swinging doors. It's kind of a farce.
Yes, a farce. Yeah, well, yeah. And his character is he's so well done and so believes himself to be this huge star when he's in this role, when he's in drag and when he's in Starina, that you totally believe everything about him. You believe that his life is just... this weird, fabulous lifestyle of just living in Miami with his boyfriend, and he's so put upon by the requests of him to appease the conservative family that's coming, and he's so like himself really only when he's in that role on stage too. Yeah. Like everything, all the pretense and the fluttering kind of falls away, and he's just so confident and just owns that personality and is where he's kind of really truly comfortable. And Nathan Lane is such a strange personality as well, but he really just captures it just nicely in this
Nathan Lane's personal identity, or at least as it's seen on interviews or things, already seems to be somebody out of the 40s or 50s. He's got kind of a nasality to his voice. He already seems to be Nathan Lane, like RuPaul Charles
playing
as a character.
Yeah, playing Nathan Lane.
Yeah. I love that you brought up how much that character is alive and complete in their performance identity. And every day that they are not in that performance identity, walking around, going to the market, dealing with the relatives of the in-laws, is a compromise of their identity. And so I think that's a fun observation that in some cases when we see a drag character in the setting of a television show or a film, their life is really what happens when the music starts and the spotlight goes on, and everything else is just this other thing that they go into.
I haven't seen it in years. Please remind me. It's Robin Williams' character that they're supposed to be playing straight for like his kid, right? And his kid's in-laws?
Yeah.
That right? It's the Robin Williams character that's supposed to be like...
Yeah, his son is marrying
Gene Hackman's
daughter, and Gene Hackman is like a conservative senator or something or other, and he has to play very conservative and straight later in, and then of course
Nathan Lane
comes and
wrecks everything.
Well, he comes in and adopts the only role that he knows how to play, which is a woman. Yeah, the only comfortable thing. So he comes in and plays his wife, basically in drag, in a different form of drag as a performance in front of Gene Hackman et al.
What's the fun? I think this was an Elaine May ghostwrite, and in our last episode we were talking about soundtracks, and for some reason I wanted to bring up Ishtar, and when we were talking about the Spinal Tap soundtrack, and listing
I
things.
really want to hear how this goes. Okay.
In Spinal Tap, we mentioned the songs that are created by this mythological heavy metal band and how they're clever, but not too clever for rock and roll. And in Ishtar, there are these boneheaded singers, and the awful songs that they are singing were written by Elaine May. And in a way, they're so poetically awful, they could never be written by these idiots because they almost transcend the awful.
Transcendently. Well, you kind of explained Ishtar in a nutshell, right? Transcendently awful.
Transcendently awful. But in the scene where Robin Williams is trying to instruct, before they give up the facade, Robin Williams is trying to instruct Nathan Lane on how to walk in a masculine way. And ultimately, he has him walking exactly like John Wayne, and then realizes that it looks very feminine when it's actually portrayed. It makes me... I love that this is, in a nutshell, the very idea of what drag is and what gender is performance. And so that's, I think, just a fabulous moment in there. Okay, moving on to Richard's second.
Okay, so my next choice. Look, there's a history of drag in theater that goes like all the way back to the Greeks, right? But as long as there's been theater, there's been the idea of males playing female characters. You know, for a variety of good or not very good reasons. But in comedy, really, I think it just stretches back to Monty Python. I think that's as far back as drag goes in comedy. It's just Monty Python. However, while the Monty Python characters did a lot of drag, it was always this sort of idea, right, of like, part of the joke was, hey, look, it's guys in drag. Like, there wasn't a lot of artifice behind it, and it almost became part of the comedy of it. But if you look at a group like Kids in the Hall, they were a group where it felt more like they were dressing up as females for these parts basically because they didn't have any females in the group. And so they were, I think, the other group that's very well known for having male characters, you know, male performers doing female characters. And if I had to pick one person out of that group, it was Dave Foley. You know, for a couple of reasons. He just always felt like he was the most natural playing a female. Like, whatever it was, like whatever the vulnerability or sort of like characteristics that you need to tap into play, not just be like a guy playing a female, but actually become a believable female. He was able to capture that. So in a lot of I would always notice that if they'd have more of a melancholy sort of like skit or something that wasn't just straight comedy, which sometimes they would do, a lot of times they would cast him like as the female lead in the role. And again, it just never felt like it was, hey, isn't it funny? Look, he's dressed up in drag. Yeah. It was just more, we are writing female. This scene has a female character, and we're an all male troupe, so we're gonna just, you know, become this female character, and it's just becoming a character like it would be becoming any other character. The only difference is it's just a difference in gender, along with whatever differences that character has.
I've always felt that most men play women like the Bunraku puppet, where the puppet is something that stands in front of you and you control it, but the puppeteer is standing behind it and very visible. Like, they don't embody it. They want to make it clear. Look, I'm not this person, okay? I'm just manipulating
Which
this.
I think what the Monty Python sort of like drag always kind of was. There's that element of artifice around it.
Yeah, and I think Monty Python still lived a little bit in vaudeville, and a lot of their topicality was class and roles within class. So I can see why, if you're playing an upper class character or a lower class character or a female, maybe the intent was to play it very broadly. But Foley and Scott McCauley or Scott, who was the one who was actually
Scott Thompson?
Scott Thompson. It felt like they were playing
actually Canadian. Is that what you're going to say? They were all Canadian, Jeff.
Empathy, sensitivity, actual nurturing characters, things that are very generalizing, but actually positive female qualities, in a sincere, authentic way, as opposed to I'm parenthesizing everything.
Right. Also, Dave was the hottest of them in drag. There's not even a question about this. I mean, he looked like Isabella Rossellini in drag. Like, it's not like even like I've read interviews where interviewers are like,
so many crickets right
Yeah.
now that I can insert in here.
no, this is like a
Visible boner.
no, this is like a thing. Like
Yeah.
I've read a lot of interviews with Dave Foley where the interviewer at some point says, "Oh, so what did it feel like being the hottest girl?" or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Or
on
like
record.
or like literally like, yeah, one of my friends like said he could never watch an Isabella Rossellini movie again because he kept thinking of you in the same part.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's this weird uncanny thing.
Uh,
Any hoot.
Hey, gang, you've come this far. We appreciate you being a listener to the Mount Rushmore podcast, and we want to give you something. Well, actually, Audible wants to give you something. For you, the listeners of the Mount Rushmore podcast, our bros at Audible are offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So you could go to Audible and you could go listen to Fiercely You, Be Fabulous and Confident by Thinking Like a Drag Queen by Jackie Huba and Shelley Stewart Kronsbergs. You can go listen to that or 180,000 other titles. Audible has so many books that you can hear instead of read with your eyeballs. And with Audible, you get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Rushmore with over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle player, or MP3 player, or electronic football player. To download
Oh, really?
To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Rushmore for your free me, feel me, touch me, feel me.
I believe it's also available on your Intellivision.
You're in
too.
television. Guys, do us a favor. Go back, listen to past podcasts. It's like Christopher Walken, but from New Jersey. So, guys,
I thought you were doing Schwarzenegger. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think it's Steve Carell as Gru from. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Nobody else does it.
Let's go with it. That was
So, guys, seriously, I'm here all by myself. Richard and Michael are gone, and I want to ask you something. Do I sound fat on the microphone? Because I feel like I've been getting fatter. I feel like you could tell in my voice, like my neck feels like it's got more fat on it. Do me a favor, go back and listen to the old episodes and see if I sound skinnier then. Go back, download, and leave how fat you think I am of my voices at the earliest episodes.
Did
and then
Jane Gum from
Big old fat person.
What are we talking about in here, huh?
Well, I hope you find the girl. She looks size 14.
Are we talking about how fat Jeff is?
Guys, stop it. Really stop it. Oh, God. Okay, so
Comedy, everybody.
we are
Comedy.
back. We are back, and we are discussing the Mount Rushmore of guys in drag. Michael, your third choice is what?
My third choice is a song.
Oh, are you serious?
Isn't life a song?
Oh, yeah.
sometimes?
Sure it is.
It's a song called Andrew in Drag by the Magnetic Fields.
Oh,
So,
Wow.
so I will play a little snippet of that.
The only girl I ever loved was Andrew in drag. There is no hope of love for me. From here on I go stag. The only girl I'll ever love is Andrew in drag. Andrew in drag. Andrew in drag.
It's a nice little love song about this kind of unrequited love, which I guess is like every
Yeah.
every Stephen Merritt song, but it's kind of about this man that he sees on stage in drag, and he thinks he's so beautiful.
What's
but
that man's name?
His name is Andrew,
Oh, okay, good. So clear.
and how it will, like every song of his, it will forever be unrequited. He kind of realizes that this man isn't a gay man in drag; he's just on there enacting a part.
Oh.
It's not Lola,
It's not Lola. It's
which is why I thought you were going to, and I was about ready to get all up in arms about how that wasn't drag. That's something else.
right. Well, I'm okay.
Are you?
Oh, did I step on your shit here?
No.
Okay.
I just like I like that you presented a case in which you would potentially be angry at me for something that I haven't done. What is that?
It's marriage. That's what it is.
So, get me out
Y'all.
of this thing.
Y'all are beautiful.
Imagine this all enacted over Google Chat. This is
Yeah.
this is what it used to be like, and now we have these sessions.
Jeff,
that
were
we
you
just-
doing a Paul Lynde impersonation there? I hate people.
Boring as hell.
I guess I mean, I like the song in general. I think it's just a fun song, and I think that his ability to rhyme drag with every other word that ends in AG is just it's immaculate. So I think that there is like kind of this weird presumption that people have if a man is dressed up as a woman that they're also gay. And I don't think that always is the case. And this, specifically in this song isn't the case.
Yeah.
That he's just a man who's performing, and in that performance, his character, Stephen Merritt, for this song, fell in love with this person, but kind of realizes, oh, I'm in love with this man that's dressed up as a woman, even though I'm not really attracted to women. I'm not attracted to to non-gay men or whatever.
Well, I think there's something specific about drag that is performative.
Yes.
Right? Whether you're a male actor playing a female character or playing a male actor trying to play a female character, or someone like RuPaul who is a drag queen, or we can get into various versions of this in my last couple of choices. But like, I wouldn't put Eddie Izzard on there.
That is exactly the note that I have
written
good. Down.
Oh.
See, we can agree on things.
Yeah, it's nice. So
Beautiful.
Lay off me. Okay. In his stand-up special, Dress to Kill, he talks about being an executive transvestite, where he is a straight man that just likes to wear dresses and likes to wear makeup, and how difficult that was to try and go in the army.
Right.
I think was the ultimate bit that came out of it. But I think that there was
action transvestite, I think is what he called it. Yeah.
There was there's a difference between drag and sexuality.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that should, I especially in that stand-up, he looks to kind of counter that and to be like, oh yeah, most transvestites, or in this case, are straight men. They just love dressing up as women. I think he calls himself like a male tomboy or a female,
something like that.
Female tomboy or something like that.
Male tomboy, yeah.
Male tomboy. And I don't know. I just thought that this kind of song kind of harkened to that, to kind of a recognition of, oh, this. I'm loving this performance, and I love what this is, even though it will never kind of amount to anything.
Well, that's an interesting observation, how much the observation of a drag character makes you ask strategic questions about your relationship with how you feel about it, and then why you feel that way about that. And then you can sometimes find these different compartments in your gender identity that you get to go, oh, yeah, well, I this, but I don't that. And this has informed, like all art, this has taught me something about what it is to be human. So that's pretty cool. Richard, what do you got?
Hey, remember like way back when, like 10 minutes ago, when I said that all comedy drag starts with Monty Python?
Yeah.
Really, I meant it all starts with Some Like It Hot.
Oh, okay.
And so my choice is Jack Lemmon as Daphne from Some Like It Hot.
Fun.
And it's funny, this movie is made. This was made in the Hays Code era, but they didn't actually submit it to the Hays Code.
Oh, they didn't?
Which is like why it was banned in Kansas, and the Hays Code people came out and said it, lacked moral decency, and then was nominated for like 6 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was kind of one of the movies that sort of, even though Hays Code lasted until like the mid to late 60s, I think. Kind of after this, people stopped. A lot of studios stopped submitting stuff to the Hays Code, so it kind of broke those boundaries.
That's interesting.
Which I think is, for the movie, it's important because this movie never would have worked if they had to submit it to the Hays Code.
Yeah. Even the ending very profoundly.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, the ending itself.
Yeah.
The whole, when Jack Lemmon's trying to explain to Joey Brown as the old rich millionaire why their marriage will never work. Yeah. And they get to the, I'm living with a trombone player. And
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Then the end we just takes off as I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect. Never in a million years could you've got that through the Hays Code.
Yeah.
Jack Lemmon. Oops. Sorry. So Jerry, which is Jack Lemmon's character, he's between the two of him and Tony Curtis. He's the one who really gets subsumed by the female persona that he has, Daphne. Yeah. I mean, so much to the point that he winds up kind of getting swept up by this Joey Brown character, and they have that scene where when after he proposes to Daphne, Jack Lemmon comes back with Tony Curtis, and he's super excited and starts thinking about planning the wedding, and Tony Curtis is trying to talk him like, how's this never going to work? What are you going to do on your honeymoon? Well, we were thinking maybe Milan or... I mean, it's not that much of a stretch. And I know we just talked about drag, not necessarily being about gender, but not definitely being about gender. I know we talked about drag not necessarily being about sexuality, but oftentimes it is. Mm-hmm. And in this case, you could pretty easily read this as a movie about Jack Lemmon's character realizing that he's gay. Uh-huh. Except even Hays Code or not, they can't come out and say that in 1958. But if you look at the ending of the movie, I mean, there's that, the Nobody's Perfect scene, which is like maybe the greatest button of any comedy in history. But the end flashes on screen right after that. And then there's like a few seconds of like Jack Lemmon reaction. Mm-hmm. And his reaction isn't like, I'm disgusted by this or, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's just sort of bemused and like, okay. And it's kind of left on this super ambiguous note. Yeah. So you don't know what winds up happening at the end. Maybe, maybe nobody's perfect and they just sort of go off into the sunset together. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's a fascinating movie because you've got the contrast. A thing that I read while researching this that I totally agreed with is the way Billy Wilder kind of sets up a lot of the shots to kind of like almost reflect the idea of the male gaze, right? Mm-hmm. When you first see them in drag, they do like the shot panning up from the feet, like up through the, on the legs and everything, which would be a total setup shot you would have for someone like Marilyn Monroe, who they cast as the paragon of like female, femininity. Uh-huh. So much that they get the train whistles blowing every time she goes past and stuff like that. So it's a movie that's about gender. It's a movie that kind of plays with the idea of gender. And I think Jack Lemmon's character is the one who's sort of most transformed by the whole charade that they go into. And who knows where the hell it goes at the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you would replace mafia with woman, I think of a film where somebody has to pretend to be a criminal, pretend to be something, and they get so enamored with the part that they are happy that they're succeeding in playing the role. I think.
So you're saying this is basically Donnie Brasco was basically some like it hot with the mafia. Yeah,
well, I love that film and I love that choice. It does seem, as much as we like to pretend that now is the time in which people are people who choose for entertainment purposes, for their life purposes, to dress up like somebody of the opposite sex is accepted. So not true. Think of like the 30s in Weimar, Germany or something, where you could go every corner.
Oh, cabaret.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, what do you got?
My last one is Divine.
I'm sure it's fantastic, but what is it?
I was kind of waiting for that. It's the actor.
Oh,
Divine.
Okay.
Harris Milstead was an actor who passed away, I guess probably a little, I think, heart disease.
Yeah.
Can I start that over? That's an awful way to start. That's awful. That should be my first note.
Are you sure
my first note.
He's dead.
Dead.
Are you sure he didn't die from eating poop? I think that's how he died.
Harris Milstead was a pretty famous drag queen actor, performer, who was kind of known for being kind of gruesome and kind of like trashy and kind of like grotesque in his like performance. Mm-hmm. Like I think he reveled in it and kind of exhibited through like the John Waters cult films of like the 70s and 80s as kind of like this person that he really kind of clung onto in terms of like, oh, this is like the ideal countercultural person that I need to have in all of my films, like from the kind of his short films up and through his kind of he didn't quite make it big yet, but like Flamingo or Pink Flamingos and Hairspray, and probably would have played the like hatchet face role in Crybaby if he hadn't passed away a few years prior. But he was a character that kind of like is the opposite of what wasn't quite glamorous. A lot of these kind of drag acts and people like we've kind of focused on is like this transformation into a glamorous lifestyle, a glamorous performance lifestyle. But Divine was anything but.
Yeah.
He could kind of like in Hairspray, could kind of look pretty as like the mom.
Yeah.
But like everything else about Divine was like very over the top. And
Yeah.
I think you even see that, you know, there's like a camp factor to drag that kind of plays out in like these real big personalities. And he certainly did have that kind of huge, larger
I
than
think
life.
in the world of John Waters, there wasn't much room for glamour. Everything was trashy and
Yeah.
ugly in Baltimore. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the Funhouse version of glamour. It's like,
That's a really good way to put it.
you know, it's interesting that Divine wound up, you know, partially through Hairspray, I think, which wound up sort of against all odds becoming a mainstream, you know, film success before anything else even. You know, Divine wound up becoming sort of like a fringe mainstream celebrity. I remember having a role on Married with Children, I think. I seem to remember that. And like Divine would pop up on TV shows and talk shows and stuff, which was...
Would he play like, probably like, what's her name's probably Family.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something like, Peg's mom.
Peggy, thank you.
Peg's mom or
Yeah.
something like that. But later on, yeah, someone who previously was most famous for eating dog shit on screen, wound up becoming like sort of a mainstream accepted, like sort of like, oh, it's Divine, and it's fucking wild. It's weird.
And even John Waters himself became the kind of
beloved raconteur.
Yeah, I mean, guardian angel to Homer in that episode of The Simpsons
with the hot steel workers.
Yeah,
yeah. John Waters, America's cool but kind of creepy uncle.
Yeah.
Basically.
There's definitely like a kitsch factor to all of obviously John Waters' films, and Divine definitely came off as just kitsch, just like lived in the 50s in terms of like a big bouffant hairstyle and big over the topness of it, and kind of just took up that space.
Yeah, that's interesting. That the commentary that there were, I think if you're a drag performer and you're portraying Betty Davis or Joan Crawford in the Baby Jane kind of era, you're not even pretending to be a woman. You're pretending to be this crazy faded film archetype that is so far removed from the identity of an actual living human being that it's drag is not even what I think you'd call it. It's almost like a just a costume or some kind of other kind of performance, because it's so far removed from. It's like the difference between Welch's grape juice and an actual grape. There's really not much of the real stuff there. Richard, take the stage. It's your turn to shine.
I find it interesting neither of us chose Milton Berle, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
Because kind of fuck that guy.
Right.
You know, I almost mentioned him with RuPaul because they had a very famous incident, I guess.
Oh, really?
MTV Music Awards. It's like 97. They came out to present an award together, and I guess Milton Berle was like a real dick backstage. I mean, he's Milton Berle.
Yeah. So
real
he's got
dick.
a big
giant
schlong.
dick. That's a Milton Berle's dick joke. It was like a real asshole backstage. And they went out to do the award, and it just devolved into, like, he said something shitty to her, and she said something shitty back, and he tried to grab her boob.
Oh,
and
God.
she said something like, so you used to be drag, and now you're in diapers, huh? And it was just an ugly mess. And Milton Berle is like the ugly, not even literally the ugly side of drag, but it's like that's what we thought of as drag in the 50s. And this actually kind of plays into my last choice a little bit, because it's that's sort of like you said, artifice. It's camp. But not in a fun way. It's like, isn't it funny? Look, he's playing a female.
Yeah,
that's sort of like, or didn't Flip Wilson have like a female character?
Geraldine.
Yeah. It's all this broad kind of gross, sort of like making fun of gay people. Sort of, that is always kind of part of it.
Yeah.
My last choice is John Cameron Mitchell from the movie Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Oh, okay.
Playing the role of Hedwig. And it's, a movie, or the play itself started in 98, and I think the movie came out 4 or 5 years later. And it's literally decades ahead of the curve in terms of having conversations about non-binary gender roles. It also got a really, really great soundtrack, like an incredible soundtrack. I know we just talked about the Mount Rushmore soundtracks in a previous episode last week, I believe, wasn't it? And I sort of knew based on our schedule I was going to be talking about it here. If not, I would have picked probably the Hedwig soundtrack as one of my soundtrack
Oh, wow.
choices.
Okay.
It's that good. I mean, it's one of the few, I think, kind of rock musical soundtracks that actually rocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like kind of either. It manages to be both a musical in a way that like the Who's Tommy pretty much doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and so many other like musicals that want to be rock musicals. It's still kind of just watered down Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Broadway version of rock, and I think maybe it's because partially the way the character was developed. When John Cameron Mitchell was writing the play, he actually didn't think Hedwig was going to be the main character. He based this character on a German babysitter / prostitute that his family had when he was a army brat in Junction City, Kansas. I don't know if you've ever been to Mr. Kansas.
I have not been to Junction City.
Apparently, they got a lot of babysitter / prostitutes there, so you should probably go check it out. That's what I'm saying. So this was going to be like a secondary role to this character named Tommy, who was a lot more like John Cameron Mitchell, who was a army brat, somebody who was trying to find his sexuality, wanted to be a performer, a theater type guy. And I'm glad that it changed because this Tommy character, like in the movie, he's played by Michael Pitt. He's a total drip. He is like just a jerk of a character, and not in a fun way. He's just kind of like a whiny teen. Is what he kind of comes off like. And Hedwig's an awesome character.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen the movie or the play, Hedwig is basically a teenage boy in East Germany who falls in love with a American serviceman who says, I can take you back to the U.S. and we can get married. You can get out of here. The only thing is you'll need to have a sex change operation to pass, the medical test so we can come over. Test winds up getting botched, so it's that's what the angry inch is. And then he flies over to the U.S. and then the Berlin Wall falls like 6 months later. So he goes through all of this, and he could have just left 6 months later, right? And basically winds up becoming had grown up on glam rock, like listening to Bowie and Iggy Pop, like very much that kind of like playing off of their time in East Berlin, in the 70s. And winds up basically fronting this glam rock band, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And it's an amazing character because it's someone who's bitchy, funny, talented, angry, and bitter. Even though it's a drag performance, and even though it's definitely a very unique kind of character, it's also a character that's not stereotyped. It's not a stereotypical sort of like, oh, here's what a transsexual or a
not Priscilla Queen or Tu Wong Fu. It's not
yeah,
one of those,
it's not something like that. It's actually showing this character as a real like character, and through the whole evolution of what this person, having gone through this, what would that turn them into? And I don't know if the play is like this, but I know in the movie, basically Tommy winds up is this kid in Kansas that she's babysitting, like a teenager, and they wind up having starting an affair, and he winds up stealing all of her songs and becoming like this huge Trent Reznor, Billy Corgan type star, and she starts following him around with the band playing her songs, except she's playing like the Dome. Yeah. He's playing like the Dome, and she's playing the Bilgewater's restaurant. Yeah. It's a great movie. If anyone out there hasn't seen it and just love rock and roll, I would 100%, maybe the best movie also about rock and roll ever.
Oh, cool. Hey, many changes, maybe many costume changes we went through this.
Changes.
On and face the Spain. Okay. So, guys, thank you so much for all your great suggestions. It was we addressed the Mount Rushmore of drag, and I have the dubious role of going through and trying to figure out which ones stand out to me. I will give you each a point for RuPaul Charles. You both deserve it. It's probably the most ubiquitous drag performer right now, but one that's very fitting. And Nathan Lane, I really like that poll from Michael. And I really liked, Michael, that you chose a song, Andrew, in drag. So is that 4 or is that 3.5?
3.
Okay. But I am also going to go because it's a much beloved film with Some Like It Hot. So there we go.
Alrighty,
There we go. Guys, thank you so much. This has been the Mount Rushmore of people in drag. I'm going to go.
Good topic.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly good.
I'd
Yeah.
like to get out of this girdle, though. It's really
I
kind of
gotta take off.
cinching me.
I got to untape my schmeckle here. Hold on.
Insert a plopping sound.
I've been Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.
Hello and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined as usual by my good friends Richard
Hello.
and Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael like to discuss the most ubiquitous things of a given topic, and this week is no different as we discuss the Mount Rushmore of guys in drag. Now, this is a topic that I chose, and I have long been entertained and interested in performance, and in many times throughout history, men have taken on the roles of women and vice versa. We're going to talk about men in drag, and it might be Bugs Bunny dressed up like a female wabbit in an animated thing, or it might be somebody playing Juliet in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. But I think it's very interesting when men, for whatever reason, take on the roles of women in comedy, in drama, and whatever. And so today is the Mount Rushmore of guys in drag.
Great job. Okay. Great job. Sometimes